Time to wake up, yeah. Time to wake up, oh yeah. Time to be free. Time to be free. To wake up, oh yeah. Time to wake up, wake up.
History is a clock that people use to tell their political and cultural time of day. It is also a compass that people use to find themselves on the map of human geography. History tells of people where they have been and what they have been, where they are and what they are. Most important, history tells a people where they still must go, what they still must be.
One of the more controversial positions that you take is that black Africans landed in America 2,000 years before Columbus.
I would not specify the day, but probably exceeding 2,000 years. The fact is that Columbus never came to the United States of America or North and South America. He came as close as San Salvador. That is the head of an Olmec. And the Olmecs were said to be the first of the indigenous Americans.
I owned a book several years ago and still have it in my possession by Michael D. Coe himself, who is considered one of America's leading archaeologists and anthropologists from Yale, one of America's most prestigious schools. In his own work, he referred to them as Negroid. And he went further to state the title of the book is America's First Civilization, what you call civilization. And to turn around and to tell these youngsters and other people in America in particular that the black men were the first to build any type of civilization in the Americas will be disturbing to Americans. And so...
Let me ask you this,
yes.
Even if you're right, let's say you're right, what difference does it make?
It makes a lot of difference.
What kind of difference?
It takes the inferiority complex out of the black man who felt that his only beginning and relationship here in this part of the world is that of slavery. Then it puts him in the driver's seat because, again, they don't tell you that there are man-made hills within the United States. They call them mounds. And they range from in the Midwest all the way down the eastern seacoast of the United States. And they have found artifacts in them that are similar to things found in West Africa and in Egypt, which is Northeast Africa, that predates the arrival of the so-called indigenous Indians to these lands.
Founded on 2/3 a person, rapings and beatings and suffering that worsens, like human packages tied up in strings. Black rage can come from all these kinds of things. Black rage is founded on blatant denial, squeezed economics, subsistence survival, deafening silence and social control. Black rage is founded on wounds in the soul.
And there's one thing you have to get through your mind and keep it. Nothing that ever came from the European mind was meant to do anything but facilitate European domination of the world. Everything, every idea, every so-called religion was meant to dominate and to control. You were the ones with the illusions. Why is it that you were so naive? You let people redress something that you invented, sell it back to you, and enslave you through it. The main thing imperialism did, slavery and imperialism, They removed African people from the respectful commentary of history.
John G. Jackson, the God, man. John G. Jackson is the elder to Dr. Ben and Dr. Clarke. John G. opened up the minds of the black world to a lot of these white writers. You know, that was writing about the African origins to Egypt and the rest of the Nile Valley. You know what I'm saying? These crackers knew about this shit long time ago, and when they first went in, there was no misunderstanding because they didn't even know what the fuck they was gonna see no way. So when they first went in there, them crackers wrote exactly what they saw. They saw black people and they wrote that they saw black people. But when that shit set in on their ass, because, you know, they teaching in America and around the world that, you know, Africans didn't have no damn culture. You see what I'm saying? So now they had to create what you call Egyptology to wash away the fact, man, that they did, so many of their white writers then wrote that Egypt was black. You know what I'm saying? And so John G. is most definitely one of the core teachers that you need on your shelf.
That Herodotus, the institutions of higher learning, white institutions, considered the father of history. He himself, when he visited Egypt around 450 BC, almost half a thousand years before Christ, said that the Ethiopians, the Egyptians, the people of cultures, which is part of present-day Turkey, were people of black skin and woolly hair. All right? And so I just want you to understand that the Egyptians we now see are conquerors, just like people who came here and took this land from the Indians, so that they're not indigenous to Africa, those who now rule Egypt. And Egypt is just as much a part of Africa as Birmingham or Alabama is part of the so-called United States.
You know, so what we do when we deal with Egypt was standard across the board when we're dealing with Africa. What is standard across the board is that all of the ancient world record that Africa was the source of all civilization, culture, technology, science, medicine, and documents.
They hadn't come to Egypt until 640. The first non-African people came to Egypt, otherwise called the Hyksos, in 1675 BC. The Africans there were already in the 13th dynasty period. They had built every pyramid you saw there before. They had done the S-turn in the Nile. They built every one of the major temples that had already been built, including the Grand Lodge of Luxor. The first European to come there did not arrive until the Greeks arrived with Alexander II, the son of Philip of Macedonia.
But Egypt is the crown, and that must be the foundation upon which we build. If we're not up to Egypt's standard, we ain't got to build a pyramid. But the unity that it took for our people to put that together, we got to get that. That's what we must get. There is no other symbol that represents us as a people like that pyramid.
Break down the science of Tahuti. Was he a real character?
Well, he got a zoo type, so he can't be a real man. But his image, you understand what I'm saying? His image, his spirit, you see the ibis, which represents, now that goes back to the right, to show you that the Nile Valley Africans was developing the art of writing far longer than anybody because they got deities that represents writing. Nobody else got deities like that. This man is on papyrus 5,000 years ago with the book in his hand. Any other god, man, Yahweh is an unseen god. Smoke coming out the damn volcano. Allah, you can't even make no image of it. This is real. I know why so many nanas. Because there's so many principles in life, in the universe, that they kept coming up. But he's the ibis and also the dog face, dog ape, baboon is also a representation of Tahuti. But all of those animals are indigenous African animals. That's why I tell you, study the zoo type.
So when we're talking about the god of Saw, or the god Heru, or the god Het-Heru, and we're talking about solar orbs, because remember, this is star science. This is all star science, because man and woman Here on this planet, all we are is microcosmic stars and suns and moons. You understand what I'm saying? So even though Amen Ra, meaning the hidden sun, or Ra meaning the sun, right? In the form of man, every man that went into those temples and manifested and became one with the principles of his own self, he actually became Amen Ra or Asa or Aset walking on this planet.
About the principles that has been inculcated into the religion of Christianity originated in Egypt. Would that be an accurate statement?
I think we have to follow the historical chronology of how Christianity and Judaism and even Islam and other religions evolved. And I refer to the fallopian tube of our mother, but I'm talking about the mother Africa. They are all historical evidence, scientific evidence, anthropological evidence that validated that African people are the first people. So they're on the temples and tombs and monuments that have been there for 2,000 and 3,000 and 4,000 years. We can see that many invasions that came into Africa, whether we look at the Greco-Roman period, and many of these ideas were literally plagiarized or copied directly from the temples. And if we look at, let's look at where did the earliest Bibles, if we want to start with that, where was it written at? Like the Septuagint version of the Bible. Okay?
The what?
The Septuagint version.
Septuagint.
The Septuagint version of the Bible. Where was it written at? It was written, this is the Greek's first Bible, by the way, okay? It was written in Egypt, Alexandria, Egypt.
In 325, when Rome, under the order of Constantine, the Roman emperor, ordered the 219 bishops at Nicaea, and they took away Christianity from the Africans. Just remember that before they said Jesus was born in a manger in Bethlehem, they said he was born in a cave in Ethiopia. It was at the Nicene Conference that changed that.
What they did, this is Amen Ra, this is men, pitch black. See that? Black is fertility. You understand? It's the essence of all things. Yeah, all colors come up out of black. Okay? I don't give a damn. The sun came up out of the black hole. The black hole is the most powerful energy source in the universe.
Research about them. And so I may be saying things that may hurt many of you, if not most of you, because some of the lies have become your dear.
Our ancestor saw through the constellation, through the heavenly body, through astrotheology, through the cosmos, the first divine mother and father for them to live for eternity. A set represented Sahu, called Ceres today, and a Sar represented Orion. Our spiritual mother and father that we carved on the temples. Here we see the earliest story of Asar, who had an evil brother named Set. Many versions of the story, who got 72 conspirators to crucify him. Here we see this is long before the Cain and Abel story. You got it carved on the temples. And although you see it carved on the temples on the outside, still on the inside, they're still beautifully painted black. It's through this story of the union of Asar and Asar's resurrection, through the union of Asar and Aset, they have a holy child. It's told on the papyruses where the name paper came from. We see Tahuti, we did not worship animals, but Tahuti, the divine nectar, the messenger corresponding to Gabriel in the gospel, announces to the goddess Aset that she gave a divine immaculate conception and virgin birth. So here you had this spiritual story where Tahuti came, who was a spiritual law, said Aset would have a holy child. This is long before Gabriel, the angel of the Lord, came through the back door and told Mary that she was going to have an immaculate conception. This court and chapel, from a special unit within the great temple, they were used for the celebration of the day of the child in his cradle, a festival commemorating the birth of Horus, which, coming as it did
at the close of the Egyptian year offers a curious resemblance to the Christian festival of Christmas. How could it be a curious resemblance when this predates European Christianity? What was the symbol of this temple right here? What zoomorphic form? The cow. Now, have you often wondered why the cow is always in the manger? This is Hathor right here with the cow's ears that looked over Haru in his birth at December the 25th. Here you see a pictorial version of their painting of the European Jesus wrapped up like the mummy that was called the Carissing, that we'll get into in the lecture series, showing you right here, why is it a cow? No one had never asked, why is the cow in the manger? Because the cow was Haru. And where Haru was born in the manger, this was his surrogate mother, the cow. That the cow symbolically plays the surrogate mother over the European pictorial versions of the Bible that we have right here. So again, you can see where it all came from.
Okay, this is Serapis, this is Jesus. Or is this Jesus, or is this Serapis? Or is they goddamn the same thing? It's the same thing. Serapis is Jesus, Jesus is Serapis. That's Serapis, that's Jesus. You look at it. Look at Moses. This is Serapis, this is Moses. Or is this Serapis and this Moses? Which one is which? It's the same image. Neither one of them existed. It's the image of their supreme deity, which is Zeus. Okay? They have never given up the worship of Zeus. They have never given up and that's why they continue to make movies. They are continuously venerate them. They have never given up the worship of Odin, which is Wednesday, Woden, Thursday, Thor, Friday, Frigra. Go look it up. You will say all these cracker deities, but if I say Osiris, Isis, and Heru, you niggas want to look stupid. You don't want to venerate no African deity. But you will call on these cracker deities every day. That's spiritual enslavement. This is the original Holy Planet. Asar, Aset, and Haru. Now, this is your Serapis family, the rate of the Holy Family. So you see Aset right there as our ancestor and warrior historian Ashaka Musabera Shango, peace be upon him, brought us the African woman, the original guardian angel. So you see right here, this is where the concept of the angel came from. This is carved in stone 3,000 years before Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And here you got some old bullshit right here, a Serapis. Okay? And here you see a Oba. A Oba is a king of Benin, which is modern day Nigeria. See that? See the headdress? Can you see it? Okay? We didn't come here to play no games. We could show you this. They stole from Africa. They raped Africa. And just like they was raping and stealing the people, they were stealing the knowledge, they were stealing the mineral wealth. Everything that they could get their hands on, they stole up out of Africa.
Oh yes, you have been told a lot of lies. No other way to talk about it. And those who teach them, if in fact they did any research, must know they are lies. That is providing that they have never gone to Egypt or to Ethiopia or to Sudan to see the living proof.
So there on the temples and tombs and monuments that have been there for 2,000 and 3,000 and 4,000 years, you can see that many invasions that came into Africa, whether we look at the Greco-Roman period, and many of these ideas were literally plagiarized or copied directly from the temples. And if we look at let's look at where did the earliest Bibles, if we want to start with that, where was it written at? Like the Septuagint version of the Bible. Okay?
The what?
The Septuagint version.
Septuagint.
The Septuagint version of the Bible. Where was it written at? It was written, this is the Greek's first Bible, by the way, okay? It was written in Egypt, Alexandria, Egypt.
Just like you, I came here and the ancestors were speaking from these temples. Relieve us from religious persecution. Relieve us from the beast of the Western world. That's right. We are here for a total different reason that other people come back here. This is why we have to walk in the spirit of Ma'at. Leave Isfet behind. Evil. Put this in your own mental court of law. Let's see all the evidence. And once all the evidence is presented, we can see where European Western version of Christianity copied from this. And judge it for yourself. You've heard their side of the story? Take time out and hear your ancestors' side of the story. We're not saying for you to believe it, but just like the court of law of Ma'at, let's put it on the Makaru. Let's put it in the witness stand of truth, justice, and righteousness on the square. And we want to hear the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And then judge it in this middle court of law.
Okay, now many of my Muslim friends, they don't want to believe that they stole from Christianity. They want to believe a hand dropped the damn book out of the sky. Don't nobody get handed no books out of the sky. You write books. Every book that been written by a man. But this shows you how the Muslim borrowed from the Christian. Right there. How the hell you get a circular window in your mosque? See right there? See right there? That's all that is. That's Ra. That's Ra, family. So you can go on here and assalamu alaikum and everything else like you better than somebody else. You got more cut on that. You stole from Christianity. They stole from the Egyptian. The Muslim also stole from the Jew.
Hidden Origins of Islam. Right? This is written by a group of scholars. All right. Carl
Heinz Oleg and Gerard Purin.
Yeah, he's a professor. And
these are the German scholars that Wesley said you should read.
Yeah, German scholars.
Yeah, Luxembourg as well, Ibn Ishaq.
Yeah, there's a litany of essays in here compiled to challenge the traditional histories that have been given by Arab scholars of Islam, and they are critiquing it in light of linguistics, in light of numismatics and coins and hard data.
Yeah.
And making a cross comparison to show that the history that has been given by these people has no bearing. It's
all bullshit.
It's both. What means something is, do you know the history of Islam?
That's what it is.
Is the Kaaba in Mecca? No, it's not.
Now I never heard of that one, brother.
Masjid al-Haram. Masjid al-Haram is an old name for an attempt to find Solomon's temple in Jerusalem.
So answer this question for me.
I'm going somewhere. Because the first Quranic inscriptions in the world came from what city? I can't hear you. Did you say Jerusalem? Did you say the first Quranic inscriptions were written in Jerusalem?
I didn't say that.
On a building? I didn't say Arabic inscriptions. I said Quranic inscriptions, which means words that were written in the Quran, actually found on monuments in Jerusalem.
Right.
Did you know that Muslims attacked Mecca and burnt down that building?
Yes, they did.
Damn.
Yes.
In opposition
Yes.
to the group that was there because they had a temple that was called the Kaaba and Masjid al-Haram. See, they don't know the history of
Muslims
Islam.
make Hajj.
The first Hajj was made to Jerusalem.
And they see this black stone. What is that?
First of all, those are oracle centers, so there were about 17 or 18 of them all throughout Greece, North Africa, and other places. These are astronomical observatories. If you go to the earliest mosques, all right, in the Ashmolean museums and other scholars who went out, those mihrabs were not directed towards Mecca. They were directed towards the winter and the summer solstice.
Actually, do you know what the earliest ones were directed? And this is the problem that a lot of people are gonna have. There's a really good book, and I highly recommend it. It's called Quranic Geography. You might want to bring that up on Google if you can. It's called Quranic Geography.
I wrote a book on Ramadan. The reason why I wrote a book on Ramadan, because Ramadan is based on the calendar.
Yes.
And Ramadan is also associated with this whole discussion. All right?
Okay.
Ramadan, when you look in the Quran, is said to be based on the setting of a particular star.
Yes. Okay.
Surah 53, Al-Najm. Al-Najm means the star. And the star is mentioned in there, and the star is called Al-Shira, which is a broken plural, which means Sirius, or the Sirius constellation. Which, anybody who knows anything about black history, Ethiopic civilizations, Tamari, Dogon, Sirius was critical to the calendar systems of many indigenous African civilizations.
Yes.
So, when you look at the earliest mihrabs, they were pointed directionally towards the winter and the summer solstice when Sirius was setting and rising, because the calendar was based on the old calendar systems. See, this is how you can check civilizations by how they chart time.
That's right. That's right.
How they chart time.
That's right.
So I'm saying that to say that when you practice Ramadan and you look at the early linguistic origins of the word, And the word, see, what does the word Ra mean in so-called Arabic? It means to see. And Mahdan, all right, is a word that means to purify the sight. They practice solar worship, which we call Salat. Salat was not done 5 times a day. It was done 3 times a day at the rising of the sun, noon, and setting of the sun. That's solar.
Makes sense.
Listen.
So what came about the 5?
The 5 came with the, we're gonna talk about Caliph al-Mukmun.
Oh.
Right? So we're going somewhere with it. All right?
Mukmun? That's the
boy. That's the boy.
That's the dude.
That's the boy who made the fake Muhammad.
Dude,
that's the boy who made the fake Muhammad.
Yes.
He made fake
Now,
Muhammad.
let me ask you this question.
Go ahead.
Just like the preachers and the pastors, they know the truth, but they can't tell the flock.
The imams don't know it.
So you don't think the imams know it?
The only people that know it are the ulamas of certain schools that gave rise to certain universities in Persia and Arabia. And of course that spread, but there are certain people that do know. They know, I mean, they know beyond knowing.
Would it be fair to say this is a secret society as well?
What's the secret society?
The people you're referencing, and I would
absolutely.
think so. Yeah.
Absolutely. Their secret society in concert with the Jesuit order, in concert with the Catholic Church, in concert with the Orthodox churches of these people know what's going on.
Black Arabia, the African origins of Islam. Wesley Muhammad. Look, we all understand that the original man is the African man. You understand what I'm saying? And Egypt, Ethiopia dominated that land long before any man referred to himself as an Arab. Because in order for there to be an Arab, it got to be a landmass that identify itself as Arabia. Okay? And so this Arabia is like the last, name that we find on, because when we read the text, Egypt has an empire, man, all the way to India. Okay? Ain't no Arabs in here at that time. Egypt got forts and fort cities and all type of colonies all through this area. And plus, this is a fucking desert, yo. You know what I'm saying? This is a fucking desert. You talking about the 18th dynasty. This is what even blew the so-called Exodus out the water, because you crossing over this so-called Red Sea to free yourself from Egypt at a time when this is one of the imperialistic age of Egypt, and they got colonies all the way up into Turkey, into past the Caucasus Mountains. They behind all up there in the Baltic Sea. You understand what I'm saying? That's why they call it Black Russia. And then, you talking about a correlation with the Egyptians going all the way into the South Pacific, with Angkor Wat, the Nagas, all the way into India. You understand what I'm saying? That's why you see they temples is built like pyramids. And you understand, and you see they priests wearing the tiger skin like in Africa, where the brothers wear the leopard skin and the lion skin. See, it's too much similarities. Too much when you sit back and just focus on the scholars that can bring you right to the similarities. Those are not coincidences, because you're dealing with a people's spirituality, which are the deepest expressions of a people. So these ain't just frivolous thoughts coming out of nobody's mouth. And so when you have so many deep expressions, and so many similarities that correlate across the culture, you know that it's a strong connection when you're dealing with a powerful teachings such as the ancient mysteries. The mysteries is deep. You're not going to just up and come up with these type of teachings without deep, deep thought for a very, very long time, because a lot of it is scientific, which would have taken people thousands of years to even come up with the science. And so they integrated their mythology into the science. And though the mythology, you will say, well, that's mythology, Seti, but the science up under it is what put the stamp on it.
we have a rich repository of spiritual knowledge. African people, we as an African people have always been a very spiritual people. We can't start time with a Western time. We've got to go back. So this is to not to believe, but to think about, okay, the rich heritage that African people, okay, brought to the world, that's incorporated into many of the ideas that we have today. And I think that we would open up a whole true spiritual consciousness, above all, starting to see our own divinity in opening to what our ancestors wrote for countless thousands of years.
Now, of course, to become such a high status, you had to go to school for 40 years to become the Grand Master. He was what you would call a son of light. The son of light was achieved by opening up of his mind, opening up his pineal gland. The position that you will see of all the Grand Masters, such as Meruka, is with his left leg forward. And many of the other kings, you always see the left leg forward. Why is the left leg always forward? The left leg is forward, first of all, because the heart is on the left side, and they must trample down evil. Evil is always present. Our ancestors understood the laws of opposites, so he must walk with his left foot forward to trample down evil so his heart can go forward. See, as you trample it down, then your heart will go forward. So this was the purpose of the left leg forward, to trample down evil for his heart to go forward. Later, the European military took this from Kemet: left, right, left, right, left, right. This is where that came from.
Okay, so African people wrote these spiritual stories thousands of years ago. Many spiritual ideas that we see and we practice, okay, in terms of in Christianity, in terms of what the Christ means, and how in ancient, the Kemetic teachings. And by the way, I use the Kemetic teachings and not Egyptian teachings, because that's Egyptian is a Greek word. Kemetic is referring to the black people, African people of the Nile Valley, who actually created this spiritual idea of the resurrection of a spiritual Christ, okay, that represents a spirit within ourselves.
The most powerful clothing that the Grand Masters, the Son of Light, could put on their bodies was what is called the wasket, the collar, as you see him wearing right here. You see Meruka. You see where the Grand Master's grip of the lion's paw. See the lion's paw on Meruka? You see the paws right there? For those who may be in masonry, when you know in the 3rd degree, the Grand Master's grip of the lion's paw was supposedly when Solomon grabbed Hiram and raised him up. But look at now keep in mind that Meruka was the Grand Master's. Look at the Grand Master's grip of the lion's paw. Look at the lion's paw right there. See on his garment right there? His collar. This is where the origin of the Grand Master's grip of the lion's paw came from. Also, this game is called Senet. Now you can see where chess came from. Okay? So long before chess, Europeans' concept of chess, now you can understand where the name chess, or chess, came from Senet. I don't mean nothing disrespect, but we must open up to who we are, unless we stay eternal slaves. Let's go back to the craft of Ra. Let's go back to the Grand Masters who taught for thousands of years.
And this is the reason why when we speak of Egypt, as it's called today, as our ancestors called it Kemet, ancient Kemet, that literally means black, okay, where in fact the term chemistry equally came from. We look and see that this is where we can find many of these spiritual stories, but Egypt has been locked away. Most black folks don't even know that Egypt is in Africa, all right? And this is due to the Hegoism, you know, and one has to ask, why is this? The Western world starts with the Greco-Roman world because of the indoctrination into making think that nothing happened until the Western world came into being. And this is where a lot of people are locked into. Our educational system is locked into a Western academia. It's not dealing with ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt. If ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt as it's called today, if it was part of the educational system, okay, from our early age, we would develop a serious critical analytical analysis in understanding how these things that we see today, that black people, African people created these ideas, okay? Our children come home and they have to study Copernicus, they have to study Galileo, okay, Kepler, but imagine if they knew about the grandmasters like Imhotep. Now the building is there that he built, the Step Pyramid in Saqqara, the world's first stone building. Here's an African who was a physician 2,000 years before Hippocrates, all right? Here's an African who knew the circulation of the blood long before the, what is called William Harvey, okay? And as well as the Roman Galen, he also knew, Imhotep also knew the anatomy of the body, as well as the circumference of the earth, the 25,000 miles circumference of the earth long before the Athenian Eratosthenes. This is powerful knowledge. So that would neutralize the power of Western Europe and Western civilization, as though everything was at a standstill until the Greco-Roman world came on the scene. In fact, we are told that the world in Africa, you know, is the negative connotations, savages, heathens, and all these kind of negative connotations that we relate to African people. And that's one of the powerful things in terms of going back and taking people right out of the group and seeing the audience actually gasp.
The negativity.
We'll see the audience, the group at gasp when I put them next to a relief over 3,000 or 4,000 years ago, and that person looks, that black person from our group looks just like the one over 3,000 and 4,000 years ago. So showing the connection, you know, that we're not trying to make something black. It is black. It is African. Okay, it is African people who created this, like that great colossal called Rahorm Akhet that most people know as the name the Sphinx by the Greek name, where Count Boney, who a European who witnessed it, that Thomas Jefferson refused his book to be published in the United States because he said that this is an African colossal, this civilization created by African people. This colossal going back over 4,000 years ago that Napoleon saw fit to, blowing his nose off. So again, that is the power. This is the oldest colossal on the planet Earth. So you come into Egypt, this is the colossal that you see. This is what you look up at and you gasp at seeing it.
Time to wake up, yeah. Time to wake up, oh yeah. Time to be free, time to be free.